What's going on, guys? Ed0626 here, bringing you another episode of Adventures in Votech with yours truly. So, last episode, you heard me roasting my entire class, and believe me, I had so much fun doing it because, it's nice to get that type of shit off your chest and out into the public, even though it is in the public. Because the only time I ever really say anything is when I'm with my friend Bree and we're just hanging out and we're talking about all the bullshit we dealt with. So it's nice to finally, air all that bullshit out and, definitely go a lot more in depth as to why I fucking hated a lot of the people in that class, if not all of them. But today's episode deals with another subject I hate, which is the line. Now, I mentioned prior, the line was where kids from the campus or in other classes, whether you were baking, whether you were in nursing or auto body or whatever, or even landscaping, they would order, food from the menus that we had at the time, and we would cook it for them pretty much. And there were actually two food operations going on, especially during the morning class. One of those food operations would be the line, of course, and the second food operation would be the lunch for the teachers, because the morning class would be the ones that cook lunch for the teachers. And it was absolute fucking chaos. Now, believe me when I tell you, there were days where it was pretty easy, but there were a lot of those days where it was just so busy and so hectic that we were all practically fucked from the beginning. And we actually, like I said before, we actually didn't even start serving food until SurfSafe was over, which was a good month and a half into the actual course as a whole for me. So once that ended, we started making talks about what kind of menu we wanted to serve, and we ended up deciding that we would do a breakfast menu, egg sandwiches. I'm not sure if we served omelets or not. Egg sandwiches, bacon, hash browns that were cooked on the flat top. A lot of this was done on the flat top. And honestly, there was some pretty good stuff there. I loved eating the hash browns, believe me. And the bacon. But I'd say probably the breakfast menu was the easiest of all of them to cook. I definitely could say that. I think towards the second part of the year, we would, or not the second part, but like the second menu of the year would also deal with Italian, which is where, I think this period is where I got that free food from that guy, Tony, when I bought it. And we would end up making marinara sauce, we would make Alfredo sauce for whoever would order it. We had different kinds of pasta you can order, whether it was penne, linguine, and whatever. And all these different kinds of appetizers that would go and be involved in that type of stuff. Although the pain, well, it was a bit more of a pain because there was, more to go into some of the food, like the appetizers. Like, you had to have everything frozen, you had to fry it and all that kind of stuff. But no menu was worse when we did the American Classic stuff, which would have all this complex type of burgers, like, it was hamburgers, but you don't want to kill anybody, so you have to cook that shit at the right temperature. You don't want to burn it because the fucking customer's going to be pissed. Some of the ingredients we either didn't have much of or didn't have at all, so we had to make it on site. To be honest, I spent a good portion of my time, in some cases, even when I wasn't working for the line, I spent a good portion of my time cutting produce like tomatoes, onions, any other type of stuff that was able to be cut that the line didn't have much of. Mostly because I wanted to help out. There were some people who needed it, and they asked me, he's like, "Hey Matt, could you just cut this and this? We needed some of that." And I did it, and I didn't mind doing it. I was totally cool doing that type of stuff. What else was there? There was, by the way, sidetrack note. I didn't realize how much I'm shooting on sideways in this game. Like, have you ever noticed that a lot of my kills have come from me shooting like in a really weird angle? But Yeah. What else? And another thing, like, actually, there was this one period of time where, when I was on the line, like my group, because we were assigned 4 people per group, my group was on the line, and we were just getting hammered. And we tried cooking these burgers, and they didn't come out as well as, I guess the chef wanted to. So he made us redo it and continue to redo it a lot of the time because we just couldn't get it right, and it wasn't our fault. But it was those types of times where I was just getting stressed out. I was just didn't want to fucking be there anymore. I just wanted to go home, or I wanted to go back to school, of all places, where I'd be even more miserable, depending on what class I was in at the time, morning or afternoon. Although I gotta say this, there was a period of time when I was on the line where I actually did have a decent amount of good fun on. We usually, what we would do is a group would spend at least 1 to 2 weeks on the line, and that's okay. Like, we would spend 1 to 2 weeks on the line. Like, that's understandable. And during one of those weeks, me and a few friends of mine. Ooh, I got a hero pickup. I didn't even fucking realize that. I didn't watch this gameplay back. Wow, I must have been lucky. Me and a few of the people in my group, who would be my friend Bree, my other friend Juan at the time, and then another kid from the class named George. I think I've mentioned their names prior in the last episode. The problem with working with Juan and George was because when you needed them the most, they just weren't there. Oh, I even took out Slave 1. God damn it, I'm a beast. But yeah, the problem with working with Juan and George was when you needed them the most, they weren't there. They were busy fucking around doing their own thing. You know what? At times, I couldn't blame them, but when I'm getting fucked over and I'm getting yelled at for bullshit that I shouldn't be getting yelled at for, that's when I start to get a little pissed off, you know what I mean? So there were times on the line where when we were on there, it was really rough, and I'll get to that more in a second. But there was actually some good parts, because when the one week we spent on the line, which is what I've been trying to get to this whole fucking 2 minutes, we actually did really well. And Chef even specifically asked me, he's like, something, Matt, I want you to take charge of this. And for that whole week, I took charge of what I was doing on the line. I think, although there were times we weren't open. I think there was a day that we weren't open. I'm pretty sure it was Friday. I don't know. It was like there were some days on the line where we weren't open at all. So it's really hard to remember. But whenever we were on, it was really like that one day that 1 week I had, Chef really praised me for it, and I was really happy about myself because I felt like I actually did something right. And of all the times I fucked up in that class, I felt like I was doing something right. I led my people good. I gave people specific stuff to do. They did most of the time, if not all the time, they really didn't answer back to me. I told them to do this. It's like, hey, I always asked nicely too. I never was a dick about it. I said, hey, could you just do this, and then this so and so, you do this, that type of stuff, because I didn't know who was manning what at the time. I think if the only thing I remember was my buddy George was well, he was a good dude, but for George was on the fryer. I think Juan was on the grill. I think Bree was doing something else. I don't remember what. Yeah, but that 1 week it was great. But then there were times it went to shit, and I'll tell you why. Because there was a time where Chef, for whatever reason, I don't know if this was the same period of time or not. My memory does not serve me well sometimes. There was a period of time where Chef did not even take us off the line. We spent 3, 4, 5 weeks on the line, and no one ever did that except my group. I can't tell if it was a big fuck you, or it was because Chef didn't like us, or like some of us, he was trying to build character or whatever. I mean, it's one of those things, but it really pissed a lot of us off, and it was during that period where Juan and George were fucking around doing their own things. So it was that period on the line where I hated it, and I even told Bree. Me and Bree have talked about it a bunch of times. We said we just don't want to fucking be here. Like, we didn't at that period of time. We just hated it so much. We refused to be there. Like, we hated it, like, because there was no reason why we should have been on the line as long as we were, when no one else, to my knowledge, was there that long. I don't know. I mean, you think, and this is where the whole favoritism thing comes in, because you think that if Chef wanted to keep it fair, he wouldn't fuck us over like he did. At least I consider it to be getting fucked over, because we were put in some pretty shitty situations, and we didn't really get much help from the other side of the spectrum at times. We were kind of seen as like the fucking oddball class. So, well, not the oddball. Like, we were seen as the oddball kind of group. Like, no one really wanted to help us because they knew what we were about. And I'm not that type of guy. I was working my ass off. But when I asked for people to do something for me and they couldn't do it, either because they didn't want to or because they were doing their own things or they were working on other things. If they were working on other things, I understand. But sometimes I feel like they would say, no, I can't do this because of this and this, because they were doing their own shit. Either way, I think it's fucking dumb. I hated the line. That pretty much sums up the entire commentary all into one simple sentence. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Life on the Wii. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and thank you all for watching this gameplay. I think I did pretty goddamn good on it. So see you guys in the next episode.